Hi there, everybody. We'll get started in just a few minutes, or just a minute or two, actually. Maybe David, could you give me a number? Bronca could give me a number now that I'm thinking about it.
Yes, so far we have 9 folks that
Okay.
joined us, so we'll wait a little bit longer.
Okay, thank you. Those 9 people who are in the room maybe want to type in the chat area their name and agency. Thank you for being here, actually, because many programs are on break, so we appreciate your dedication. We've got a great topic for you today.
Hi, Anthony. And it is so nice to see Wilder.
Oh,
and
right.
Q and Jennifer and Janice.
Oh,
and Marina from San Mateo. Good to see Marina.
Oh, Jennifer Gagliardi. That's great. Bronca, what's our number?
We have 11 so far.
Okay. But to be respectful of those people who have joined us right on the dot, let me go ahead and get started, okay? So, good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's Learn at Lunch webinar. My name is Adriana Sanchez-Aldana, and I'm the Executive Director of the California Council for Adult Education, CCAE. Today, we've got a special guest. She's one of our very own, and so she'll be presenting on tools and technology for effective legislative advocacy. And we're very excited that she's willing to share her tips and tricks with us today. And let me see if I can advance the slide. Okay, it's not going. There we go. So CCAE's intent, if you've been following along with our Learn at Lunches, is to bring you topics of current relevance and demand that will help build meaningful connections to us all. And we need connections at this time in our lives, right? These are very, very interesting and challenging times, or it's been an interesting and challenging year, definitely, we've got to say. So our webinars are completely complimentary to our members and are sponsored by our partners in the field of adult education. The 2 titles that you see, is one of them is today's, and then our next webinar, last but not least in our series, will be next Tuesday, December 1st. And we'll be hearing about how our friends at GED Testing can help us meet the challenges of continued success for our students as we continue to deal with pandemic restrictions. So don't miss out. Our registration is now open for both of these, well, for our upcoming webinar. And also we have registration open for our virtual state awards event in December. And I think I'll be talking about that in a moment. I'd like to also offer a sincere thank you to Bronca Marchetta, member at large on the CCAE Executive Board, for her hard work to ensure that CCAE makes these topics available to us all. Also, many thanks to David Palmer, CCAE Office Manager, for ensuring that all of the details behind the scenes work together, and especially the technology. So, before we get started, I provided already a few announcements, and so I'd like to continue with 1 or 2 more. And as I may not have mentioned before, but for you to know, there will be time for questions and answers at the end. And there will be a poll. Please stay on on for our poll so that we can get some information from you, get your reactions and so forth. Okay. And so let's see. Also, the lines are muted, so please remember that. And also know that these webinars are being recorded for later viewing, right, so that you can share with your colleagues as well. So for today's agenda, as I said, I've got some updates and then our webinar and then time for questions and answers. So today's announcement is that on Friday, December 4th, we will be recognizing our top adult ed leaders and influencers with a virtual awards event. You need to register on the CCAE website so that we can ensure that we send you the link. And we also want you to know to share the link, to share the information, not the link, share the information with your friends and family members. They are absolutely welcome to register so that they can get the link, especially to our awardees who are probably receiving their awards by this time. And Bronca's nodding her head because I know she's been very involved in that. So if you're an awardee and you're on this webinar right now, please ask your friends and family members to join us for this celebration of you, okay? We know you all deserve recognition. We're sorry we had to cancel our state conference, but we feel that recognizing our awardees is so important for 2020 and for every year. So we hope you'll join us. Another thing that we need to, I didn't mention advocacy, and today you're going to learn some tips using technology to advocate. And please remember that advocacy is so important. Our legislators need to continue to hear from us. So hopefully, I don't know, Bronca probably has 20 tips for us, but if you use at least 2 of those tips, that'd be really, really great and very, very helpful. Use something that you haven't done before. That'd be a real positive for us as a result of this webinar today. Regarding an adult ed study that we have a great opportunity to provide some input into educational research. And I do have to read the name of our Crystal Corbus's study because it's a little bit long, but it's a great one. And we should be so excited that she is helping doing some research in the field of adult education. Crystal Corbus is from Bay Section, and she's working on her doctoral study, which is entitled A Critical Review of Adult Education, Teacher Preparation, and Professional Development, Measuring Racial Identity Development and Teacher Dispositions. So there's a link you're seeing on the screen. You're seeing a link to a brief 15-minute survey that Crystal has put together for teachers as well as administrators that she developed in support of her study. So help us improve adult education in California by completing this short survey. It is anonymous, and Crystal thanks you in advance for your support. Membership. Our membership form is live, and a new feature that makes Diamond membership even more obtainable for all members is that it is now an add-on opportunity as opposed to a separate membership category. And I know it's kind of hard to see, but I'm wearing my diamond pin right up here on my lapel, and you get a diamond pin if you become a Diamond member, and it's an add-on for $150 onto whatever your regular membership status is. So if your membership status is $30 for the year, then you just add on the $150. So it's $180 as opposed to the full $250 that it was last year. So, and also remember that Diamond member profiles are featured on the CCAE website if that's what you prefer. Some people prefer not to fill out a member profile, and that's fine too. But if you'd like your member profile to be on the CCAE website, you can do that as a Diamond member. So let's get started on today's content. I know she's ready to go. Today's presenter is a familiar one to many of us in adult education. As I said before, we're very fortunate to have Branca Marchetta, CCAE Northern Section Representative to the Executive Board in the position of Member at Large. You might have attended one of the hundreds of workshops or trainings that Branca has led during her tenure as coordinator of technology projects at OTEM, the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. Or maybe you've worked side by side with her on a conference or other event. In all situations, Branca knows what technology to use and how to use it. She's here today to share some tips on using technology as an advocacy tool. So Branca, thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule to share some insights into technology with us. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that Branca can put her screen up.
Thank you, Adriana. And I can tell you by looking at the names of the participants, I think I know everybody, but two folks in here. And I also want to give a big shout out to many of you who are doing advocacy effectively already and doing a lot of work around advocacy for adult ed. And I may be calling on you throughout our presentation. So we thought that it would be a good idea to talk about the various tools that we have for advocacy before we roll out our campaigns as the professional association, CCAE, and also in collaboration with another professional association in adult education, CAIA, and that is an association that is primarily for adult education administrators. So these two associations work together to create the legislative platform then we put forth every year. We also have Victoria in the room, who is our ledge chair for CCAE. So we'll talk about CCAE website, and then I'll also take you on a short tour of the actual website, and we'll talk about the advocacy section of the website. We'll talk about the upcoming campaigns, the new tool that is being used by CCAE this year, so that we all can send a quick uniform message and do not need to spend a lot of time if we don't want to, or we can spend a lot of time to craft our message. So we have both options there with this new tool. We'll mention CCAE PAC, and we'll just for the sake of comparison, we'll talk a little bit about state advocacy compared to national efforts, because they are different, as Cynthia, who's also attending, reminded us a couple of webinars ago. We'll also talk about various ways to engage stakeholders, as in creating fact sheets by programs, having social media, both as programs and professionals in our field, and then also maybe potentially using some personal accounts in social media to spread that message and to repost. We'll talk about curating success stories, and setting up online meetings with your legislative representatives. So speaking of CCAE website advocacy section, please check it frequently. I'll show you again demo how to get to that section, and I'll talk about various aspects of it. And I would like to announce, and Victoria can also add, a couple of campaigns, or at least two campaigns that will be happening this year. Our ledge group between CAIA and CCAE informed us that we will be doing something as early as mid-December. And as many of you are familiar with the process in California, budget process, there will be a January budget proposal for the following year. And we usually do some work before that. And then we also do some additional work after the January proposal is out. And then we work towards the May revision. So that March-April bullet that you see on the screen is about that period, leading into what will be the week of April 19th this year. And this year, we will have to have our events virtually, given the current condition. And what we're planning for is a combination of legislative advocacy days, state conference, and Adult Education Week. So maybe you're the first ones to hear, other than the smaller group of CCAE members, current executive board, and so on. The week of April 19th, 2021 will be our Adult Education Week. So please block off that week for our activities. And so we will be engaging in our campaigns leading to those 2 weeks. So when we're ready for these campaigns, because things change also so rapidly and we need to have up-to-date information and decide on the actual messaging and platform almost days leading into the beginning of the campaign, you will find talking points on the CCA's website. You will receive emails from CCAE. Usually it's an update from Dawn Kopke and Victoria Abate about the current campaign. And there will be links, and there will be some social media templates, and we will also show you those on the website. So when we use social media, again, here we have some folks who are quite adept at using media. I'll call out their names. Anthony's doing this for OTAN currently and did previously in his other roles. Jennifer, in her teaching citizenship, has a great social media presence. Then we have 2 folks from San Mateo Adult Ed, and if you check out San Mateo Adult Ed on Twitter, they have really great presence. So you guys already know how to do this, but this is more messaging for those who may not be using social media as much. We on CCAE, we share frequently on Facebook because we are a Facebook type of community. We also share on Twitter because it is good to use Twitter because legislators like to use Twitter. It's a public tool, very popular. And we also have Instagram presence. So what we're asking that of folks is to repost when they see a CCAE post. So that's the simplest thing you can do. Also, as you post your own original content, please tag us so that CCA, the person behind the CCA social media, can see it and they can repost your posts. And finally, you can ask your friends and family members who have social media to repost some of the content under their individual accounts so that we can spread the word. Also, very important to assess when to use personal and when to use professional accounts. If you're representing your organization, you need to run the messaging through appropriate channels. So you're a coordinator. If you're a teacher, the coordinator of your department, your administrator, principal, and then your administrators and principals have to run this by their district just to make sure that the messaging is what needs to be that if you're on the umbrella of that school, what is the appropriate messaging. So that's one time you need to take a look at that and go, okay, is this a personal thing or is this a professional thing? So some simple tools for doing this and using social media. There are 2 things that you probably heard hashtag, and you've seen it in jokes and you've seen it online. And understanding that the hashtag is a keyword which you use to find others, to find those who are sharing interests with you or similar topics. Yes, similar topics. Let's stay with that. And maybe I can ask the group, what is one or more hashtags that we use in adult education? If you can put that in the chat. And please, as you're putting it in the chat, as Anthony noted earlier, make sure you select so that both panelists and attendees can see the hashtags that you put in. I'm gonna go find that and read it. Okay, so Adult Education Matters. This was Cynthia. Cynthia originally created this a couple of years ago, Adult Education Matters, and we also make sure we purchase t-shirts from San Mateo Adult Ed with this, Adult Education Matters. Okay, Dewey Decimal System of social media. Okay, yes, Cynthia is comparing it to that. Then yes, adult education, adult edu, adult ed, adult edu, ed tech, immigrant integration, distance learning, ESL, ABE. So those are the hashtags, those who are using social media frequently. These are the ones they are using. Yes, we'll talk a little bit. Oh, CCAE, yes, that's fine. CTE, Career Ed from Cynthia. Excellent. And please keep them going. Oh, yes, we learned from Cynthia. Anthony points out, we learned from Cynthia to capitalize words in hashtags for accessibility purposes. So don't write adult education as one word lowercase, but make sure you have A capitalized and E capitalized in adult education so that the screen readers can read them better. And then Jennifer, of course, uses citizenship for the subject matter that she is an expert on. Hashtag citizenship. So great, thank you. Also, we use handles. Handles is a tap on the shoulder for that person who's on the other end that we're trying to reach. So this is very important when we provide good information about our programs, and we want our local stakeholders and our state level legislators to understand that we are out there in the social media world and we're providing some good useful information. So for that purpose, this is very important, and our legislative advocate urged me as I was presenting the content of this presentation today that I talk to you about that. So if you know that your local representative in the state assembly or state senate has a social media presence, go and look up their handle. It's called handle. So in my case, I'm in Sacramento, and Kevin McCarty is very active on social media. So whenever I post about our adult education programs in the region, I as appropriate, I will tag him at Assembly Member McCarty, which is his handle. So you have to go look it up and make sure that you're using the correct one. So hashtags, very important. Handles, very important if you want to reach specific entities and specific people. Okay, and Janice, thank you, Janice. Janice is also providing information about CASAs. And interestingly enough, thank you for that transition, Janice, because I actually do have CASAs listed here. So see, these are some of the Twitter handles that we use in adult ed. So CCAE state handle name on Twitter is at CCAE state. Then of course the governor, CA governor, then our superintendent of public instruction, Tony Thurmond, he's quite big in social media as well, and he posts quite a bit. The next one is my favorite one, Department of Finance. They don't tweet much, but whenever we meet in February for CAEA meetings, conferences, annual meetings, and we have presenters from Department of Finance, I make sure that I post something, and I use the handle at HDAT Finance, the official handle of Department of Finance here in California. Also, CA Adult Ed is a Twitter handle for Adult Education Office, CDE. And then CAPE Office is for CAPE Office, federal state funds. And as you know, CDE oversees state and federal funds. And then we have Ed OTAN and Ed CASAS system. For others, you go to your, again, to that person's public page and go find that Twitter handle, or they may have listed, and that's how you find it. And Jennifer also, I don't know when she wrote this, but I want to also repeat it, that sometimes the legislators may have both personal and public accounts, and so understanding that as well is important. And these are hashtags, and you guys already mentioned a number. So CCAE, Adult EDU, Adult Ed, Adult Education. So the one that we are looking at, Cynthia, these days is, and we agreed to use Support K-12 Adult Ed for this campaign. And also Adult Learners is a good one. And this, the last one, Move Ahead with Adult Ed, is a national hashtag for a national, more recent national campaign. So if you haven't seen it, that's what it is. So those are those are basics of Twitter, and this is something that we all are interested in, and we encourage you to have that presence, because this is where the legislators and decision makers are when it comes to resources and financing and supporting adult education. But also other social media are great. If you have Facebook accounts and Instagram accounts and YouTube and even TikTok. We had a really fun time in our northern section a couple of weeks ago, thinking about how could we make a viral TikTok about adult education. And we were thinking about enlisting some of our kids who have TikTok accounts and creating something along those lines. But as we were having fun, we were also thinking about the fact that when you create that social media account or any kind of online presence, you also have to think about uh, continuously posting and keeping the content up for that presence. And that's a lot of work, and that also has to be thought through very carefully. Oh, okay. So Jennifer is also sharing with us that it can also be done through YouTube, and I didn't know that having that she's been getting a lot of results by tagging politicians on YouTube. Excellent. Good to know. Okay, I'm going to move to another topic, which is the fact that we need to continuously curate information and organize information about our programs and how valuable we are. And there has been a practice by a number of adult education schools throughout the years to create fact sheets. And that's another thing that we have on CCAE's website. We have some sample fact sheets. And this is a great tool to take with you when we are able to go back to Sacramento, to the Capitol in person, but also it's a great tool to post on your school's website and have a quick access to it and be able to pull it up at any given time as you talk to your stakeholders, local or state level. So these are some examples, and I will also show you on the website where fact sheets are. And so you can start working on those as soon as the beginning of the next school year, as you get that data from the previous year, and you have your local data. You talk about how many high school diplomas, how many vocational certificates, what's your demographics. Don't make it too dense and too complicated, but at a glance, and you can refer to this again and again as you talk to the community. Also, as stories come, and as you know, when you're a teacher in the classroom, your students talk to you about their successes. They're very happy to share. And this is one of the reasons we're in adult education. We get that constant motivation. And this is the best job because you have a sense of purpose, because you're helping other people and you hear about their successes. So we need to all, as a group, become better at capturing those success stories. So as a teacher, tell your administrator, if they're the ones doing that social media, or if you're doing social media, reach out to others to share their stories and stories of their students. Ever so briefly or in long stories and lots of photos, whatever works for you, whatever format you can afford, time-wise, resources-wise, and so on. So one of the easiest ones is to do it on social media. So I'm just going to give a shout out to a few. For example, this is a quick one. Roland Adult Ed, at the beginning of November, they just shared 2 new citizens, and we all celebrated it, and we reposted, and we loved it. Here's another one. Fontana Adult School featured Shilpi. I believe there was a video there, and they used Move Ahead with Adult Ed, the national hashtag. And so those who are looking for that hashtag will also find her story. And they also are talking about Shilpi's goal to one day become a principal. Here's another one. This is a good example where Todd Haig, whom many of you know, out of Chafee Adult Ed. He is the principal there. He is reposting a post by his board of education member at Chafee. And this is a great way of sending that message, but also building those relationships with those who are making decisions, very important when it comes to your programs. Here's another example, Yucaipa celebrating another high school graduate. And please note how they have a nice background over there for photo taking. Sometimes the schools will use big signs to celebrate graduates, ASC graduates or high school diploma graduates. A quick and simple way of celebrating and showing your work. Here we are featuring, this is in Sacramento, and we are featuring how adult education handled the pandemic and how effectively, as a field, is my opinion, we switched to online instruction. So we feature a story about Twin Rivers Adult Ed ESL classes. And this also goes on all of our social media, and it's also in the newsletter. And I like to use the other hashtags is in strong workforce, or if it's a family literacy type of story, then I'll use strong families. Or if it's a civics type of story, I like to use strong communities, just to kind of stress that. And then here is another good one. This is Barbara Martinez out of Pacific Grove Adult Ed. And she is advocating for lifelong learning. And please note how she tagged at AXA Info. Because this was, I believe, during AXA Legislative Day and AXA Summit. And you can also see some of those others. And at PG Adult Ed is their handle. And then also a really quick tip and easy to tag your school district when you talk about your success as adult education program, because your school district is so busy and they have so many stories, and if you tag them, it's so easy for them also to repost your story. So those were some of those examples. So quick ways to curate success stories by your school. All right, I'm going to move on to the next item, which is meeting with our legislators. So leading into our Advocacy Week of April 19th, 2021, we will have to most likely set up online meetings with our representatives. And we think that the time is now to get online and send that email to their office and their staffers and try to set up a nice time slot for that week, if possible, on Monday or on Tuesday. Victoria will talk about that more as they roll out the more campaign information sometime soon, Victoria and Dawn. But because everybody is going to be looking at virtual meetings, this is the time to set up those online meetings for the time that is best for you, to also prepare your colleagues, your administrators, your learners to join you in the online meeting with your local representatives, or that if they're in the locally, they're in their office, or if they're in Sacramento. We have heard from those who already did a round of online meetings and virtual meetings that it's been very successful, that they're available for us. And one great advantage is you don't have to pay for travel, and you don't have to spend that time traveling, and it's easier to coordinate more people participating in an online meeting. So please do that as soon as possible. Set up those appointments with your legislators. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about CCAE PAC. This was established last year. PAC stands for Political Action Committee. And this is a separate and transparent entity that is separate from CCAE's 503B existence as a nonprofit. That is very important. It's also overseen by certain entities that do that for other PACs, where the incoming funds and outgoing funds are all recorded and transparent, and activities are all recorded. And so that said, this is a way for CCAE to move to the next step of advocating and creating relationships with decision makers, because that's what everybody's doing these days. And it's a way for us to build relationships with legislators who are maybe strong candidates to become champions of adult education. This also provides us the opportunity for us to interview new candidates. Now we're just out of past the biggest, one of the biggest rounds of elections, but the new one's coming up, and there will be new candidates. And under this umbrella, we as an association could be ensuring that we have a lot of champions for adult education making those decisions. And then also it's an opportunity, like I said, that's an opportunity to interview future candidates. So that's CCA PAC, and there's a way to contribute to PAC off of CCA's website, and you also see that in CCA's emails. I wanted to make that distinction between state and national advocacy. So here in California, we primarily advocate and work on ensuring that we receive what are now CAPE funds, California Adult Education Program. The latest big amount is 538 million as of June. As you may remember, back in May, we were facing a 20% cut. It did not happen, and it's 538 million for the whole state of California for that state funding. We work with California legislature in Sacramento, and we work under the umbrella of CCAE and CAIA. And as I mentioned, our hashtag to find ourselves on social media and each other is going to be support K-12 adult ed. And then we also have another association at the national level, COABE, and we as CCA members are automatically COABE members as well, and you may be receiving their messages in their campaign, which is primarily for the federal funds for Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, Title II, Adult Education and Family Literacy Act. We're talking about 100 plus million in state funding, which is the biggest. We are the state that receives the most out of the 650 million at the national level for the whole of the United States. For that, we go to Capitol Hill and work with Washington, D.C. And again, we work on that under the umbrellas of COABE and CCAE. And the current hashtag is Move Ahead with Adult Ed. So I want to talk about this quick email tool. This is something that you may have used and you may have seen from COABE a few times already. And if you belong to other associations, you may have used this tool. And I will also demonstrate it on the website. What you do is you fill out a form with your information and your address. And based on your address, it comes back with your representatives, whatever the level is, state level, federal level. And there is a pre-made letter in there or text that is the official messaging from the association. You have the option, and this is based on advocacy groups and ledge chairs and ledge groups who decide to create this messaging. You have the option to modify that if you want to, or you have the option to send it as is. And I have to tell you, it works. I just more recently sent one, maybe as early as well, see, there's the date. October 26th is when I received a response from my local representative here in Sacramento region. Well, I mean for my region, but in Washington, Ibera has been representing us for quite a few years, and he is a big supporter, and he makes sure that adult ed gets a portion of that federal funding under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So you can see his office responded to me after I sent that message through that tool that now CCA also has. So when you get the email from Victoria and Dawn, there will be a link to a tool like this and a message like this. This is the one from maybe the summer or spring that we used previously. So at this point, I want to ask you, how about you? What are some tools you used successfully for advocacy so far? And also, I would like you to share your school's social media accounts. So let's do that again in the chat and not Q&A. And please, again, make sure that you are sharing with all panelists and attendees. So let's take a look at that. In the meantime, I'm going to switch to the CCA website and show you around a little bit. But please share with us some tools you've used, maybe links to posts. Okay, so San Mateo Adult Schools on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube channel and blog. That's well-rounded presence for sure. You can also give us the links. Okay, Jennifer, also US Citizen Pod on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, and Blogger. Yes, Wilder, are you behind that tweet? So you shared the Facebook account, the one about new citizens from the beginning of November, or is it someone else at your school? Oh, excellent. Good to know that Milpitas Adult School just started a YouTube channel. How about our colleagues from Watsonville? We have 2 colleagues from Watsonville. I think I've seen you on Facebook or Twitter too. Oh yeah, there's a message. There's some information from Todd, holding virtual community meetings, inviting community members and local politicians, supervisors. Excellent, thank you. And Cynthia is sharing the actual account names, SMAS Twitter for San Mateo Adult School or San Mateo AS for Adult School. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so I will come back to the presentation, but let me show you on CCA's website also where these advocacy tools are. So it's going to be in the green navigation bar and you go under advocacy. Legislative overview is currently taking us to what was the messaging for taking action back in the summer. You can see there's a timestamp from June. This was a good time in a sense that we learned that we were not going to be cut 20%. So that was really good news. And then as you read through Dawn's and Victoria's message, you also learn more about what the official platform is, right? So currently, one of the priorities is to clean up the ed code because there are many confusing aspects of education, California education code when it comes to the old code that applied to K-12 adult ed and the new code that applied to CAPE, and just trying to figure that out and clean that up has been a tremendous job, hundreds and hundreds of pages of looking through this and making sure that it really applies to what is currently going on in the field. So that is a big effort currently. And there's are a couple of other items that are on the platform. So this is where you learn about that. And then also the advocacy kit will be available again for the next campaign. Here we still are using K-12 Adult Education Matters as a hashtag. As I mentioned, support K-12 Adult Ed is going to be the new hashtag. And then as you scroll further down the page, you actually have some sample tweets that you could use and retweet if you wanted to. And here's an example of, again, making sure that you tag that the representative for your community. I'm going to also scroll up a little bit again to show you various aspects of this message here. Again, reviewing priorities and enhanced talking points. So there is a Microsoft Word type of document PDF here that you can download so you can use in your meetings with your legislators if you choose to do so. And then there is a link here to last campaign's form. That was that message that I showed you. My computer remembers my information, so it already pre-fills. I click on submit. It pulls up the governor. I have Senator Richard Pan here in California and Assemblymember Ken Cooley here in California representing my region. And so here's my message here that I could just send off. I just have to make sure that I say that it's on behalf of my school, right? And I can send it as is, or I can change it and send it. So that's a tool that we do have at our disposal very quick. And then finally, again, that conversation about legislators in social media. And Cynthia is sharing that you can use tools like Hootsuite. How do you pronounce this? Hootsuite to schedule ahead, and they're very convenient. So when you're busy, really out there, especially when you're meeting in person, you're traveling and you're waiting to meet, these can be sent automatically while you're out there. Or you have a busy week ahead of you and you have lots of content, you put that in and then that sends it automatically to your social media. Yes, Owl Hoot. Thank you very much. Hootsuite, because of tweeting. That's right. Thank you. That's a good tool to share. Let's see, another thing. So we talked about that quick email tool. I showed you the page on the legislative subsection of CCAE website. So please keep on looking for that. Also be on the lookout for the emails from CCAE on this topic. And here, just as an example, I'm showing COABE's website and their section on Move Ahead with Adult Ed that they rolled out back in September. We also talked about that in one of the previous meetings, that the Adult Education Week nationally is usually in September. And for us in California, it's usually in April, sometime towards, sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the middle of April, leading to that May budget revision. Okay, and then one more thing that I wanted to tell everybody is what we all can do to advocate. And again, we have a group here that is quite well versed in doing advocacy. But for those who are just starting or need more information or more structure, there is a new tool that was developed by Pro Literacy, and it uses PIAC data to present arguments for the value of adult education at the national level. So I'm just going to walk you through that a little bit. But first, I want to look at the chat also. So there will be Cynthia is sharing that she will be doing an OTAN Tech Talk on December 11th about social media. So please, everybody, register and hear Cynthia's presentation. And then another one. Yes, participants will share lists of hashtags. Sure, please. Yes, share those lists of hashtags during your presentation. Yes, thank you so much. That's for sure. So going back to this slide one more time, let's talk about what are some things we all can do to advocate. Let's not wait for campaigns, but all the times, let's work on recording and sharing our success stories, right? And have a repository locally, and then share with others the good work that we do and the value of adult education. Like Todd mentioned from Watsonville, invite community to your classes, to your programs, and to your celebrations, for sure. Develop an elevator speech about why you think adult education is important. So it's a great way to engage somebody in a Costco line, right, at a cash register. Or if you're wearing that adult ed shirt from San Mateo, and someone asks you, so what is adult ed all about? You have that already ready to go, and you can do a 10-second one, or you can do a 10-minute one, right? And regarding specifically various aspects of advocacy, like I said, I wanted to share this toolkit by Pro Literacy. I promised Jackie Taylor that I would do so. And this is a really nice publication because it talks to those who may be starting this for the first time. We're so fortunate here in California that we have professional associations that help us with this and help us come together and have a uniform voice, and also not come across as a group of, disjointed. We all have slightly different interests and different opinions, but we come together as a group with our messaging. And this is one of the, also I'm going to drop down to page 36, and this is one of the messages that they also talk about. It's really a great tool for those who are starting from scratch without the support of professional associations. And again, we're fortunate to have this. So I'm sorry if, look away if this is too much scrolling until I get to that page that I wanted to share with you. I think it was page 36. But they walk you through a very, very simple process of deciding if you're someone kind of alone trying to do this type of work. And some messaging based on this study that was done a number of years ago. 24 countries participated, and then lots of analysis for each of the countries on the skills of adults in reading, numeracy, and using technology and problem solving in technology environments. So sorry, almost there. So this is what I wanted to share with you. The most successful public policy advocacy efforts for adult education, literacy or adult education at the local, state, and federal levels are those with a well-coordinated strategic campaign, a core planning group, a diverse base of grassroots advocates, and a consistent ask across programs. So this is something we have experienced and we have done as a state more recently. So there's a link to this toolkit from this slideshow that we will share. So that's what I wanted to present to you, and I also wanted to open up a little bit more time for interaction, comments, questions from the group.
And Bronca, I don't know, we had a couple of different comments. Somebody, definitely we want to make sure that everybody's going to have access to your slides. They'll be posted on the CCAE website. Perhaps not today, but probably by tomorrow, everything will be up, including the recording. And then Cynthia also wanted to share an interaction. She made a connection through Twitter, and she's telling us about an adult education story that is going to be on NPR, The Pulse, Dr. Cesar Padilla, and how adult education made an impact on his life. So as you said, you're standing at the supermarket, you're wearing your adult ed t-shirt, you interact with people. That elevator speech is definitely something that you want to have ready, because you never know where you're going to encounter that that person who has experience or knows someone who's had experience in adult ed and can bring a positive story. So I'm just I was just summing up some of the comments that we had. But as Branka said, we may have some other comments, so feel free to add them to the chat so that Branka can address them.
So maybe put in the link for that O10 TED Talk that Cynthia is going to do, so we all have that, and we could just open it up in our browsers and register for that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so Jennifer's also, and Victoria, I think is still listening here, and Adriana can also bring it to the Ledge group, Tuesday morning Ledge group. Jennifer's concern about citizenship test. It's going to become much more difficult if you follow Jennifer's posts on social media. What was that cutoff, Jennifer? Was it December or January? When they will finally start using the new test, which will be more difficult. December 1st, so that's around the corner.
Next week.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see anything else, but you know what?
Yes.
I have one little story that I haven't shared with many people, but again, in that talking, and we all, talk about adult education. Some of our family members don't understand that we work in adult education or what adult education does. And actually, I didn't even realize until last year. I mean, my son has been married for 9 years, and I didn't even realize that my daughter-in-law had an experience in adult education until last year. So yeah, be proud, everybody. It's, we need to share our stories. And she now is a pathologist at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. Adult education helped her make that leap. So that's, wonderful. I asked her if I could share her story, and so we are going to sit down and document it.
Okay. Well, thank you for attending. Thank you for joining us during Thanksgiving week. We figured that just things being different, yes, we have a lot of things that we're concerned about, but also we have a lot of things to be thankful for. And I'm thankful for you attending today.
Absolutely. So I also want to wrap it up by saying thank you to our partners. And First Financial Credit Union, Burlington English, GED Testing Service for their continued support of CCAE. And also remember that next week is the last in our series of Learn at Lunch webinars with GED Testing Service coming on. We'll all be here for that. So everyone, please, and look for the recording of this session as well as the slides on the website, CCAE website, probably by tomorrow. You might be thinking about your turkey tomorrow, so maybe later on this week. Also, become a member if you're not already, renew your membership online. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. And see you next Tuesday and hopefully at our virtual awards event. And happy Thanksgiving to all. Thank you very much.